we talk about other Indigenous peoples. And so it's important to recognize that the contributions of African peoples as Indigenous peoples of Africa affect us globally and worldwide in terms of culture, in terms of recognition of where we get our culture, some of our culture from, and then recognizing that the African diaspora didn't just come to be out of nowhere. The African diaspora is unfortunately because of colonialism, because of genocide, because of white supremacy. And so we have people in the Americas that are of African descent because of those things. And so the story of people, the International Decade of People of African Descent, also comes with challenges faced by people of African descent, are in part the legacy of the shameful centuries-long practice of slavery, discrimination, and segregation. Racism, structural discrimination, marginalization, hate speech, and hate crimes remain virulent and widespread, despite all we have experienced and learned over the years. Migrants and refugees, so that's a really important conversation we have to have as well, because we are talking about like a historical African diaspora population, but then we also have to recognize that the way we treat African migrants and refugees is not like other refugees and migrants. Anti-Black racism is prevalent across the globe, and so how we discuss folks who are Haitian migrants or folks who are coming from war-torn countries, wherever they are in Africa, is not like other countries. And I think we've kind of seen that, especially in the last 2 years, when we're talking about Ukrainian refugees, and then how we kind of position Ukrainian refugees as white people, and how we position folks from Yemen, or how we position folks from Syria, or any other refugee populations coming here. The way we speak about them is very different. And so migrants and refugees from Africa are among today's most vulnerable people, and the intersection of discrimination based on racial or ethnic origin, social and economic status, and citizenship is a conversation that we have to continue to have. And so that's why the International Decade of People of African Descent is here. Like, I mean, it's a decade. They've made an arbitrary, like, we said, okay, we're going to start in this year and stop in this year, but it doesn't mean Black people don't exist anymore and we shouldn't be talking about them after this. It's just the decade that we should be commemorating. But we also are kind of at the end of it, so that's also quite problematic. But we have to contextualize when we're talking about, if we go back to the slide that says recognition, justice, and development, we have to recognize that in the context of African peoples in the West, Haiti is one of the most important countries. It's the first free Black republic, and the way in which formerly enslaved Haitian people fought their own enslavement and revolted and resisted and revolutionized Haiti, the conversation of universal human rights comes out of that fight. So when formerly enslaved Africans in Haiti gain their freedom from like violence, justified violence, they basically said everyone's Black now here. So if everyone's Black here, including white people, everyone's Black, we all can be treated with respect and dignity and human rights. So the conversation of human rights is actually coming straight out of the Haitian Revolution. So we always have to position Haiti whenever we're talking about anything within the African diaspora and people of African descent. And I love talking about Haiti because they got a lot of stuff going on. But we need to talk about laying the foundations of Canada. Canada is based off the theft and conquer of the Americas, colonization, that genocide comes with that colonization. And so if we're talking about colonialism, Africa was targeted for natural resources and exploiting human resources. Those natural resources include precious metals like chromium, platinum, uranium, and gold. We are still seeing the exploitation of Africa for those natural resources. So the legacy of colonialism is still affecting us very poignantly today. Canada had slavery. And I always pause when I say that because usually in a North American context, we're not taught that Canada had enslavement. And so even though we're situated right now in a historically Black community sandwich town, the University of Windsor sits in a historically Black community. We don't really talk about that as a university community. We don't actually learn that in school. So I am a descendant of Underground Railroad people. So my ancestors were formerly enslaved in the Southern United States and got to Canada through the Underground Railroad. And so we like to talk about the Underground Railroad as this great freedom movement, but when people of African descent escaped or self-liberated themselves from enslavement and got to Canada, people down the street from them were enslaved. And so even here in Sandwich Town in Windsor, if you were to go on Baby Street, the baby house or Bobby House had enslaved people. So a historically Black community housing a lot of free people, also house enslaved people. So we have to talk about that because Canada was involved in the transatlantic slave system. And as a Black studies scholar, we don't call it, we're trying to move away from some language. We call it the Great Maafa, which is African Holocaust. Millions of people were lost at sea when they were being kidnapped and transported through the Middle Passage from Africa to the Americas. Patriarchy affects all of us. The way we move about our world, patriarchy affects all of us. Religious universalism, Canada is a Christian country, and so that affects the way that people who aren't Christian move about our way here. Capitalism, listen, I won't go on a tangent. I will reserve that for right now, but capitalism is not good. And I already said the University of Windsor is located in Sandwich Town, but inequities in Canada continue to flourish because we have never reckoned with our past properly. And so that's why something like the International Decade for People of African Descent is really important. And so let's talk about education institutions in Canada. What does that mean? So we're talking about the legacy of enslavement. And so the legacy of enslavement in education institutions looks like segregation. So, an institution like the University of Windsor, when it was formed, Black people and Indigenous people were not, or any other person who was racialized, were not actually thought about when creating an institution like this. And so it makes sense that people are still having certain issues with being in an institution that actually never really thought of them in the first place. And so in terms of Canada and segregated schools, the last segregated school, which means that Black people were situated and weren't allowed to go to school with white people. And then at the same time, residential schools were created for Indigenous people. So very, very separate schools. And so segregated schools and residential schools permeate the hallways of all education institutions right now. We've never grappled with it. It's still sitting with us right now. It's why my position is here to a certain extent. So the last segregated school in Ontario closed in 1965 in Colchester, Ontario, SS number 11. That is about not even half an hour away from here. It's in the same, so Windsor sits in Essex County and SS number 11 is in Essex County. So we have a legacy of enslavement and a legacy of segregation in this area. And then the last segregated school in Canada closed in 1983 in Nova Scotia. I don't think any of you were, well, some of the old ones back there, but were alive. I wasn't alive either, but that's really not that long ago. My mom was born, in 1961, and my dad was born in 1958. So they were alive when the last segregated school in this region was still open. I know people who went to that school and still struggling with some of the effects of that school, not being like getting out of that school, not necessarily having the literacy rate that they needed to. They had to teach themselves to read after the fact. A lot of different things. They don't like schooling, so it's hard for them to engage with their grandchildren and children in a healthy way in a schooling context. And so the objectives of the decade, these are important because, I talked about Haiti for a quick second, but one of the objectives is to promote respect, protection, and fulfillment of all human rights. That's coming straight from Haiti, and fundamental freedoms by people of African descent as recognized in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So if we have a Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it really is coming out of Haiti saying we're all Black now, we're all equal, we're all the same, let's treat everyone the same. Promote a greater knowledge of and respect for the diverse heritage, culture, and contribution of people of African descent to the development of societies. I want you to kind of think about how many languages you think are spoken on the continent of Africa. And when you think how many, like you probably are wrong. Like you're definitely going to be wrong because it's thousands. And so if it's thousands and we're not recognizing that, then we're not actually paying tribute and promoting like respect of that diverse heritage, culture, and contributions of people of African descent. Adopt and strengthen national, regional, and international legal frameworks according to the Durban Declaration, remember that declaration of 2002, and program of action in the International Convention of the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, and to ensure their full and effective implementation. So adopt and strengthen national, regional, and international legal frameworks. Has Canada done that? I'm gonna leave that for you to like research because, well, it's probably not. Like we're probably gonna say probably not the way in which they need to. But Canada did acknowledge the International Decade of People of African Descent in 2018 on January 1st. They were actually, so the decade started in 2014. Why did it take Canada 4 years to honestly, to me, as somebody sitting here, as a person of African descent, it's pretty easy to just say we recognize that this is a decade that the UN is saying we should commemorate. Why wouldn't the government kind of say that? And they were late. Ontario actually recognized in 2017, which is still 3 years after. So making it's like, what y'all doing? But the government of Canada did say they're committed to build a better, more inclusive country that recognizes the contributions of all and creates better opportunities for more Canadians. Um, it's interesting when you are commemorating an international decade for people of African descent, you don't necessarily say people of African descent in the first part of your commemoration. So contributions of all, but we're actually talking about contributions of people of African descent. So language is important in how we kind of move through that. And so at the end, it also says this is an opportunity to highlight and celebrate the important contributions of people of African descent have made to Canadian society. And around 9 million over 3 years was committed to Canadian heritage to enhance local Black community supports for Black youth. That's a significant amount of money, but it's not that like when overall it's really not that much money. Oh, sorry, went a little. This is an answer, so that's why I have to stop. Wink, wink. So the International Day for People of African Descent is actually August 31st. And so it's celebrated in different ways across the nation, across the world, but it's an answer. So Nova Scotia is actually the only province to have their own kind of working group that's connected directly to the UN. So they have African Nova Scotian Decade for People of African Descent Coalition, and they've been doing things for the whole decade. Programs, they've gone to certain UN forums. They've spoke in front of the UN for to commemorate the International Decade. And so Nova Scotia is an interesting province when we talk about the Black peoples in Canada. Nova Scotia is the longest standing Black communities in Canada, and it's the only place that you can go in Canada where Black communities are still 97.9% Black at this point. So if you were to go to Cherrybrook or East Preston or North Preston, those are Black communities that have withstood time. But I mean, what comes with that is unfortunately Nova Scotia not necessarily recognizing their land rights in terms of actually owning their land. And so they're in quite a few legal battles. And I mean like the province and all the Black people in the province that have had land for hundreds of years are in legal battles right now to gain back their legal rights to own the land that they've been situated on for generations. And at this point, hundreds of years. This is also an answer, by the way. So the commemoration of the decade officially ends in 2024. We're sitting in March 2023. Did you know about the decade? Are you curious as to whether or not the University of Windsor has commemorated the decade officially? We have not. Should more be done to commemorate the decade? I mean, and like how I said at the beginning, this is just a arbitrary decade that they have chosen to commemorate people of African descent. Doesn't mean we can't keep on celebrating African peoples and Black peoples across the diaspora. This is just the time that it's been designated. And I'm sure there'll be other international decades for people of African descent that are really more specific on how we commemorate them moving up. But I would implore you to kind of explore what is actually happening around the globe for the International Decade for People of African Descent. Why haven't you really heard about it? Do you pay attention to what's going on with UN? Because like honestly, if you were to look at a calendar of UN days or commemorations, like almost every day of the year has something to celebrate. I think yesterday was World Poetry Day, but it was also the International Day to celebrate, not celebrate, the elimination of racial discriminations of all forms. And so it's important to kind of like make sure that we keep on doing that lifelong learning in terms of these different international decades, how they affect us, and why we might not have ever heard them. So it's Kahoot time. I don't know. I didn't do that, but this is the code. Go to kahoot.it. This is the code. Let's play Kahoot. Well, I won't be playing, but oh, who's supposed to be running this? Not me. Okay, we'll give you some time to kind of log in. And some of the questions are bonus questions. I didn't necessarily talk about them, but maybe you know the answer. Oh, that's not me. That's not. Okay, so I will stop sharing. Okay, that's done.
Let's Kahoot. Classic mode. So you just go to Kahoot and then you put the pin in there. If you're not sure how to get to Kahoot, you can QR code it. And if it gets a little crazy, I might dance to the music. So are you Philip? Son? And do I pronounce your name correctly, Ramjot? Or are you just being nice? Which is it? Ramjot. Okay. Ramjot. Okay. And Ariana. Okay. Let's go. Thank you for the presentation, by the way. A lot of new things in there. We're going to have to talk about Haiti. Later, though. Which province has an official committee for the UN decade? What's going on? We can pause it and re-go. Okay, we exit the game. I'm going to restart. Okay, new pin. Maybe it's because I didn't dance the first time. It didn't work for you. I don't know. Okay, we got Phil, Ariana, Ramjot. Oh, if I put my, oh, I can axe people out. That's not nice. I won't do that, but okay. Let's try it again. Here we go. You already know the first question. Which province has an official committee for the UN decade? Nova Scotia. Oh, okay. I didn't even get to read it. That's good. It's solid. All right, let's go. Scoreboard. Yeah, you know you got to answer quick. All right, Philip has the fastest fingers in the room. It's on. Here we go. True or false? The government of Canada has not apologized to Black Canadians for the government's role in the transatlantic slave system. Uh-oh. One has fallen behind. Okay, let's see who's got the fastest fingers. Philip is taking the lead. Hassan, uh-oh. Okay. What year does the UN Decade for People of African Descent end? (2024). 4 of you got it right. Is it going to show me who got it? Oh, there we go. I don't know, Philip. Ariana is crowding Philip's podium right now. Okay, here we go. Ramjot not far behind. A Black Studies program at UWindsor was instituted and will speak to the experiences of members of the African diaspora. True or false? True. Okay. Philip still got the fastest fingers. Okay, here we go. Either that or he's got a better connection. Could be both. Okay, let's see. Maybe it's the location in the room. What country was the first black independent republic? Haiti. That was quick. All right, very good. Oh, Philip's unstoppable with 11 points ahead. Okay, here we go. What are the three themes of the UN decade? People of African descent. Equity, diversity, and inclusion. Awareness, inclusion, and justice. Recognition, justice, and development. I'll stop now. All right. So it is two. Oh boy. Okay. We got a match. Okay. So Ramjot came in fast there. Okay. True or false? Ontario recognized the UN's International Decade for People of African Descent before Canada did. True or false? True. Everybody got it. Let's use fastest. Ramjot takes a commanding lead, I think, here. All right, here we go. What year did the last segregated school close in Ontario? And for the record, I was not born yet. Kaitlyn. I heard that plural comment though. All right, old folks, I believe you said. Okay, here we go. Bramjot is taking a more commanding lead. All right, here we go. Let's go. What year did Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announce the government of Canada would officially recognize the IDPAD? Good job on keeping the characters short in the Kahoot question, by the way, Kaitlyn. It takes skill. Okay, good. So all four got that right. 1965, or sorry, that was the previous one. I forget the question already. Bramjot, okay, in the lead. Let's go. True or false? The UNs are created. VP of EDI to ensure a more equitable campus climate after instances of anti-Black racism. True, and he was here, and he left. But he was here, Dr. Clinton Beckford, part of the old folks committee today. Okay, Ramjot, very good. It's looking promising. Still lots of questions to go. What is the UN's blueprint to combat racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance globally called? Ooh, the Durban Declaration of Program of Action, United Nations Minorities Declaration, 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, or the United Nations Road to Fight Racism Campaign. 4, everybody got it right. Very good. And he has a streak of 11. This is good, Ramjot. Okay, let's go. Still half of it just to go. What year did the last segregated school in Canada close? Uh-oh, there could be some changes here. Let's see. There are some changes. Ariana coming back into second and Asan catapulting to third. Okay, let's go. With anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 languages, Africa is home to approximately 1/3 of the world's languages. True or false? True is the answer. And based on Asan's little noise there, I feel like he missed that one. All right, scoreboard's looking good for Bramjot and Ariana. Philip not too far behind. Okay, what day is the International Day for People of African Descent? October 21st, April 24th, August 31st, March 6th. Uh-oh, okay, here we go. Hassan jumps into third, crowding Ariana's space in second, and Bramjot still dominating at the top. Here we go. The University of Windsor is geographically located in the historically Black community of Sandwich Town. I assume this is true or false? Yeah, very good. Okay. Why was Africa targeted by colonization? Natural resources, clean water, the land, or clothing? Yes, natural resources. Oh, Hassan is making a comeback. Noted on the Kahoot platform. Ramjot's still dominating. This is more fun with 4 people, I think. The University of Windsor has acknowledged the International Decade for People of African Descent. True or false? Ooh, it's split. Next. Ariana has the highest answer, streak of 9. Bremjot is still, dangerously a little bit ahead of Ariana, making a stand. Oh, yes, there is. 18 of 24. What natural resources did Africa have that were targeted by colonization? Precious metals like gold, chromium, platinum. Yes, okay, that one was solid. A very good teaching demonstration as backed up by evidence with the Kahoot answers today. Okay, very good. Here we go. True or false? In 2022, UWindsor commemorated the first day of Black History Month, Black Futures Month by flying the Pan American flag. True or false? Yes, very good. It's a big day. Saw some. Oh, what? Wait a second. It was in 2023 we did that?
I didn't make it, but yeah, it should be
Was a bit of a trick question. Oh, okay. Because I'm like, I think we did that, but I can't remember what year. Okay, here we go. Next, let's see what happens. What time frame is the International Decade for People of African Descent? 2011 to 2022, 2013 to 2024, 2014 to 2025, 2012 to 2023. Oh, I tried to read it before you answered. Okay. Oh, there's.
It started in 2015 and ended in 2024, but the declaration was made in 2013.
Well, what are we gonna do, Kaitlyn?
I did not think.
Oh. Uh-oh. All right. Well, we're gonna have to move on and sort that out after. Okay. Okay. Not much of a change. All right, here we go. Government of Canada budget 2018 committed over 3 years for the Department of Canadian Heritage to $7 million to implement more safety facilities for Black Canadian youth. Yes, 9 million. You just saw the 9. You guys remember the money, don't you? It was the money. All right, it's all about the money. Okay, here we go. Bremjot's still in the lead. Ariana making a bid, Asan and Philip not far behind. Okay. UWinds are committed to combat anti-Black racism and other forms of racism, anti-Asian, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, etc. True, all 4. Let's see who is fast. Okay, still Bremjot. He didn't come out of the gate at first, but he's strong. 2 more questions. Multi-select. What positions does UWindsor have on campus to help combat and dismantle all forms of racism? Director of Anti-Racism Organizational Change, President of UWindsor Mental Health Association, Prime Minister of Equity, Diversion and Inclusion, Black Student Support Coordinator. Ooh, it's going to take some thought. So you can pick more than one. So there are two of the 4 were implemented on campus. And we might know one of them directly. So, all right. And both of them were in the room. Or no, both of them were not in the room. One was Miriam. Okay, here we go. Next. Bonus. Who was at one time the richest man on the planet? I think you have to type it in. You write down the person that you think who was at one time the richest man on the planet. Nana Musa. At one time. That was the caveat. Well, nobody got it. I was a little taken back by that one. All right, let's see. I think you know who won. Wait, we'll do a drum roll. Here you go. What's that? You won at the Lancer Leadership Conference? Oh. Okay, Ramjot, so you're gonna send me an email. Yeah, just at tbrunet@uwindsor.ca. And then I'll email the UWin card office and you will be $100 wealthier today. Well, not today. It's gonna take me some time to do the stuff. I wanna give a very big round of applause to Kaitlyn for putting together a wonderful presentation, of which I plan to have lots of awesome conversations with you about after. Just there's so much to unpack there, and it was very good to hear from you and to finally get to hear you present in person. So that was great, and thank you for coming. And yeah, $100. That's good. All right, have a great day, everyone.